A little old lady brought in her knives and this carving knife. She took it to the grocery store to have the butcher sharpen it for her. Wait till you see the close-ups. It's getting a little bit thick. So in this video, we're going to be using a 48-inch Radius Platen to thin it out. And I'm excited to try it. Let's grind. Once your sharpening business is up and running, from time to time, you're going to get some knives that are really nice. But this is going to basically be the majority of what you see. Knives that are scratched up and, droop on the heel, requiring you to lift the bolster. Woo, shoot, that thing's about to fall over. But this is very common, and we had a lot of weight right behind the edge there. Well, this knife here, boy, this one was just a little fatty. I think it was 0.8 millimeters right behind the cutting edge. And we'll talk a little bit about how much I was able to take off. Now, mind you, I'm new to the thinning journey. I just started this thing, 2-3 weeks ago. I've put a lot of focus on this. I feel like I have built enough confidence to where we are thinning the first customer knife here. And, it's important to take a little time to consider who your first knife thinning customer is going to be. That's almost equally important. Starting out here with a higher grit belt. Primary reason, I just want to get that muscle memory activated. I have the added challenge of finding a position where I'm comfortable thinning, but also one where I get it on camera angle. May not seem difficult, but it is actually a pretty big challenge to find an angle that works for you and the camera. But looks like we must have found a good position. We're starting to feel it because we just switched up the grit progression. We're going down to what looks to be a Bora 5 grit 60. Now these belts right here, boy, they move material fast. These things are cut masters. And the other nice thing about grit 60, in my opinion, things don't heat up quickly. You got all these little mountains. Imagine just a giant mountain range of abrasives. So air can pass through those quite easily, preventing heat buildup. And really what I've learned, the heat comes from pressure. So if you're just kissing the blade against the belt, you're not going to experience a whole heck of a lot of heat. I mean, if you just sit there in one spot, yeah, it's gonna heat up. But use your fingers, and you'll quickly learn that it does not heat up that quick. Additionally, when it does heat up, and when you're starting on this journey, you're gonna eventually flinch from heat. That flinch occurs at around 140, 150 degrees Fahrenheit. So think about that. How stinking cool is it that we have a built-in temper mitigation control system in our fingertips? The second that happens, boom, you pull everything back, and guess what? You just prevented ruining the temper of the knife that you're working on. I think here we go. Now we find a better position because I was having a hard time stabilizing the y-axis. And I think it was at this moment where I was like, okay, I feel way more stable. It's also a little harder on a carving knife. I found the chef's knives to be a bit easier to control. I don't exactly know why, but this one, just like I said, that y-axis stabilizing was a bit difficult. Now this Radius Platen, you notice I keep going back to the same spot, and that's the tip of the arc on this thing. Roughly in the middle of that platen, it peaks out. And that's where I'm focusing all my time and effort Above it, it kind of flattens out. And for this portion of things, you don't want to be thinning over there. And once you kind of get the hang of it, it's back and forth, back and forth. I want to keep things symmetrical. I don't want to thin too much on one side, too little on another. But you'll feel it after about 8 hours, 10 hours consecutive thinning. It's just gonna kind of come together. All right, it's time to blend this. I already talked to the customer about the logo. She don't care. She's about functionality. Let's show you all something real quick too. When you guys get your 2x42 variable speed direct drive buck tool, this guard down here, it comes in really tight to the drive wheel. You can actually just chop it off. And this way you can get conditioning belts on here. And it makes for popping these bad boys off and on real quick and easy. You'll know you're starting to get the hang of this once you have a nice clean grind line. And in Japanese knife making, it's called the Shionogi line. Top left, there's a little illustration. And if you look at my blade, it's within reason of the illustration. In my case here, I don't want an abrupt Shionogi or an abrupt primary grind. So what I'm doing here is I'm blending the thinning grind that I just made in the rest of the blade. So I'm actually grinding a bit above the Shionogi line. Now, when I first started practicing this, I did it all on the platen that came with the machine, and that's just the flat platen. And it's very, very, very difficult to thin without grinding the edge or apexing. And it wasn't until I got a hold of this Radius Platen that it all kind of clicked, and then I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it. I just need that edge of the blade leaning off of the belt ever so slightly. And then I just gotta keep the knife square to the belt and pull across. And again, it's just a lot of repetitions, and eventually you just get it. I think most people, once they get their hands on a Radius Platen, they're probably gonna figure this out in 1 or 2 days worth of work. 8 to 16 hours. You put that time in, and then it's gonna click for you. And I'm by no means good or great at this. I'm still in the beginning of my journey, but I have taken that step where it's like, okay, I'm feeling it now. I see how this is supposed to go. And I'm comfortable doing this on the right customer's knives. And we're just gonna keep putting time in. We're gonna keep working on this. And eventually we're gonna get really, really good at it. I'm just looking down the line to see if it looks nice and flat, which it does. It feels flat, no bumps. A couple minutes ago, I did this and I felt a little ridge, like a little bump. Let's go over that again. Getting rid of all the scratches now, and I'm gonna flat grind this out. Just gonna keep stepping up in grip progression here. One important thing, the higher you go in the grip progressions, like the more sticky it feels, okay? So it's gonna wanna pull away, so you gotta be aware of that. And what I'm doing here, if you notice on this radius, right about here, this is the highest point. Over here, it gradually gets a little bit flatter. And this is where I'm gonna be doing some of my flat grinding and blending. And again, same kind of thing. We're just trying to stay away from that edge. We do not want to sharpen this blade yet. In fact, I still need to reprofile it because it's got all kinds of ugly going. And I'm jumping on Grit 600. This particular belt, silicon carbide, just flat grinding, getting or blending between the work I did and everything above the Shionogi line. Oh yeah, my favorite new toy. This is a fine conditioning belt by Red Label Abrasives. I love what this does to knives. Okay, so we have a concave here. Very common. I think people just tend to hone harder down here. So we're gonna reprofile this blade so it looks like a proper carving knife. Now for the reprofiling process, the style I've learned that works really good for me, I use the weight of the knife. I don't apply pressure. I'm learning pressure equals heat. Look at just every so often I'm putting the blade on the abrasive surface, not long at all. And I don't use water to dip the blade. I actually remove the heat using my fingers. Conducts through my hands, and that's how I pull it. Just feels way more controlled, I guess. Now we're rounding out the bolster. Customer's not even gonna know I was there. And back to my new favorite belt. This thing's awesome. You legit, your customers, like I said, they will not know that you even did anything when it comes to grinding off the bolster and reprofiling all of that. And then this is, I guess, call it the final blending step. And I'm not grinding metal. I mean, I am, but at a micro level, what I'm doing here is I'm just blending the scratch patterns. And this is so you really don't know that I was here in terms of thinning. Now that all of that's done, guess what? It's time to sharpen the knife. Decided to take this over to the Tormek. Just put a laser beam on this thing. Was very pleased with the way this knife turned out. Like I said before, my first paid thinning job. It's very important. I do my absolute best. So in this case, time doesn't really matter. What matters is the finished product. Time to remove or minimize the burr using 3-micron diamond on a Tormek leather wheel. I like to set my Tormek leather wheel about 0.2 to 0.5 of a degree higher than I ground when using softer steels. And then we're just gonna hit that kangaroo tail just to make sure we got all that burr off. And in a minute, you'll see what I'm talking about. Yeah, the before and afters of this are gonna blow your mind. One of my best, definitely my best. This Radius Platen right here, absolute game changer when it comes to thinning. I was trying to use the flat platen. It's very difficult to thin on a flat surface without apexing. This changes everything. That's what this little black line, this paint I put on here represents. You're trying to thin just behind the cutting edge, or from your perspective, just above the cutting edge. You don't want to create an apex or a burr while you're doing that. And this thing makes it so much easier to do that. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of this thing in my videos, my shop to come. I still have room to improve, but for my first customer thinning job, I'm going to sleep good tonight. Our partners, KFMK, they're doing a giveaway, a 1x30 combo. Super easy to enter. The drawing will be January 30th. That's the day we'll announce the winner by random. To get in that drawing, all you got to do, comment your favorite knife below, knife brand. Join the Sharpeners Discord, link in the description or pin comment below. And then once you're in Discord, shoot me a DM with your YouTube username. That way I can put you in that drawing. And then, like I said, on January 30th, boom, we'll announce the winner. The winner must be in the United States of America where this product's offered. Outside of that, hit the subscribe button because I've got a huge announcement next week and you don't want to miss that. Check out these before and afters. Dude, look at that. The contrast. That thing was so scratched and deformed. We ended up taking about 2/10 off behind the cutting edge. I'm happy with that. It's a little bit thinner. It should perform better. And the blade just looks so much better. I'm proud of this one. This is my best work yet.